Hello my friends, welcome back. I'm JC and this is Grace Overflowing. In today's video, I want to share some amazing confirmations the Lord gave me related to the last dream message I shared. This dream was on the overturned cruise liner and the great turning or overturn that I believe the Lord has spoken to me that is coming to our nation and the world at large. In that video, I had shared a little bit about how I felt the Lord had given me confirmations that not only was this a true kingdom come message, that what is coming in the near future is basically leading into that kingdom age, that the return of Jesus is so soon, sooner than we think, but also that there was some implication of how this message related to the immediate future. I had asked the Lord, as I was on a walk one day with my husband and daughter, to reveal to me and to show me if there was an element of this overturn that related to the past election. I had asked him if there was, in fact, that tie-in, if he would give me the word or the notion of overturn in a way that only he could, in a way that would supernaturally, in an amazing way, communicate this truth. And my friends, I'm here to tell you, the Lord blew my mind with this confirmation. And so I want to share it with you today. In order to explain it, I need to start the day before when I had been shown a particular number. I had seen the number a couple of times. It jumped out at me in a way that sometimes numbers do when the Lord is trying to speak to me. But I've been very mindful, not wanting to be one that just entertains every notion. And so I've even started delaying and saying, if this is of the Lord, it'll come to me again, or it'll resonate. The Spirit will speak and continue to speak on it. And that's exactly what happened. This particular number, 306, just kept coming out of the woodwork. And so as I was fixing some lunch the next day, after I had had that walk and after I had whispered that prayer to the Lord in silent prayer, I was listening to a sermon on YouTube. It was a Charles Stanley sermon, and I'm not even sure, my friends, what it was that he said, but he said something that brought that number full into my mind. And I stopped what I was doing, preparing lunch. I picked up my phone and I started to type 306 Bible verse. Now, what's interesting about that is I typically type in biblical meaning because I'm looking for the number in the Strong's Concordance. But this time, I think driven by the Spirit, I actually just typed in Bible verse. And what came up was Psalm 30, verse 6. And so I instantly started scanning. My eyes dropped below to see what that verse was. And it reads, "As for me, I said in my prosperity, I shall never be shaken." And the minute I saw that, I had some vibrations in the spirit. I just felt the impact of that word shaken for a lot of reasons, because of the dreams and the messages and how the Lord, I believe, has been warning me really since early last year and summer especially, that there is a great shaking that is coming. And many of the prophetic voices are speaking that there is a great shaking coming. So when I saw that, it got my attention. And my eyes dropped down to see what else was related to this verse. And interestingly enough, it didn't show the verse to follow. It showed the verse that came before it, which is Psalm 30, verse 5. And it reads, "Weeping may stay for the night, but joy comes in the morning." So instantly there were two things that came to my mind. One was the fact that Joe Biden, in his inauguration speech, had quoted that exact verse. And I'm here to tell you, friends, when he said it, I knew instantly in my spirit that it was a sign. I didn't know what it was a sign of, but I knew that it was a sign, and I knew it was the Lord speaking to me about what was to come and how we are ultimately going to be surprised when that comes to pass. I also remembered that I had been given a dream, a fantastic dream about a plant that said joy written on it. I had taken it down for myself and I put it behind my boss's desk. In that dream, there was a call for change. And I truly believe that that dream not only spoke to the change that is going to happen with the election, but also that there was a strong rapture component to the end of that message. Now, if you haven't seen that, I will be sure and link that video so you can watch that. But all of these things came to mind, and I just knew that this could not be a coincidence. So I quickly ran and I got my Bible because I wanted to read Psalm 30 in its entirety. And when I did, I was just astounded because the Lord had given me overturn in a powerful way that linked back to the election as it connected to a dream that I had had and a Bible verse that Joe Biden had quoted during his inauguration speech. And this is what Psalm 30 verse 11 says. "You have turned for me my mourning into dancing. You have loosed my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness." So from there, I was just astonished. I mean, I know I keep saying that word, but I don't know what other word to use. That the Lord had brought this to me in truly a matter of minutes. I don't even think that it was a full hour after that walk, after I had whispered that prayer, and especially as it related to this number. He had gone before me, giving me this number, and finally it linked back in a way that only the Lord could deliver. And so for some reason, I felt a prompting of the Lord even still. I remembered Joe Biden saying that, but I felt led in the spirit to go back and listen to the inauguration speech, just to hear him use that Bible verse, just because I wanted to experience what it was that I had felt the first time. And when I typed into YouTube, Joe Biden inauguration speech, I'm scrolling down, I ended up clicking on the 7th video message. Now, I say that because it's important to know I didn't just click the very first one. It was the 7th. It could have been any of them, but it was the 7th. And the reason why that is important is because the Lord gave me another confirmation through it. This particular video that I had watched, it was 21 minutes and 25 seconds. It was the BBC News video of the inauguration. And for some reason, when Joe Biden said joy, I noticed that it was at the 15-minute mark, the 22 seconds. So 15:22. And so I thought, this word joy was in my dream. I wonder if there's some message there. So I looked it up in the Strong's Concordance to see if that number in the Greek or Hebrew, if that could speak anything into the situation, if it could give any additional clarity. And I was wowed once again, because this is what the 1522 listing is for that Greek word: to give heed or to comply with, to obey. And then the second definition says to listen to assent to, a request, to be heard and granted. And it goes on to say, related to offering up prayers to God and prayers offered up. So when I read this, my friends, I truly believed that this was God's way of confirming that He has heard our prayers, all of our prayers, as it relates to the distress and some of the injustice that has happened in our nation and the evil that seems to be prevailing in our nation. And I believe He is in the process of complying with, giving heed to, and granting our prayers as it relates even to this overturn that seems impossible. And what's even more is that Psalm 30:10 says this: "Hear, O Lord, and be merciful to me. O Lord, be my helper." And so there's that notion of calling out to the Lord, asking the Lord to hear. And sure enough, this word confirms that there is a hearing and there is a complying with and heeding to and granting our prayers. And even more, I had spoken about Hezekiah's prayer and how that situation with Hezekiah and King Sennacherib, how Hezekiah had basically gone before the Lord, asking him for his name's sake to defend him and Judah against this invasion, against King Sennacherib, who was threatening to annihilate them. And when Isaiah came back to King Hezekiah with God's response, what he said to him was, "I have heard your prayer to me about Sennacherib, king of Assyria. I have heard, for I will defend this city to save it, for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David." And so, my friends, with all of that, I was just really reassured that the Lord is doing an incredible work in our nation. And I truly believe that this goes so much deeper than a man. This is not about President Trump. This is literally about God bringing glory to his name, doing something that only he could do to open the eyes that are blind, and giving a huge sign to all who have eyes to see and ears to hear that the time is now. We are coming into a time like we've never seen before. The Lord is moving and doing great things. I believe that the time of harvest is at hand. I believe that the kingdom of God is at hand. I believe we all need to be wise virgins. I believe we all need to be in the prayer closet, seeking the Lord, and also being used as his vessels that honor and glorify him for the purpose of bringing glory to his name and winning souls over to him. Jesus encouraged his disciples not to store up treasure on earth, but to store up treasure in heaven. And my friends, I just want to encourage you right now that these are those days that the scriptures have talked about. Looking to Israel, we are told to keep our eyes on Israel as a prophetic time clock. And even now, as I speak, there are bombs, rocket strikes, air strikes, great unrest. And every time I watch the TV, which isn't often enough, I think to myself, it's really incredible how close we are, how we are living in these days that I truly believe are the last days. Now, to speak a little bit more to the why, the Lord revealed to me through the study of scriptures exactly where it is that he would have me communicate that why. It's out of Romans chapter 9, and it relates to God's choice, his sovereign choice, how he chooses, and his choice is perfect and for the purposes that he has, and his ways which are greater than ours. Starting in chapter 9, verse 8, it says, "This means that it is not the children of the flesh who are the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as offspring. For this is what the promise said, about this time next year I will return, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only so, but also when Rebekah had conceived children by one man, our forefather Isaac, though they were not yet born and had done nothing, either good or bad, in order that God's purpose of election might continue, not because of works, but because of him who calls." So to say that again, though they were not yet born and had done nothing, either good or bad, in order that God's purpose of election might continue, not because of works, but because of him who calls. She was told, "The older will serve the younger." As it is written, "Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated." What shall we say then? Is there injustice on God's part? By no means. For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it depends not on human will or exertion, but on God who has mercy. For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very purpose I have raised you up, that I might show my power in you, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. So then he has mercy on whomever he wills, and he hardens whomever he wills. My friends, this is the reason why I believe that we have not seen the end of Donald Trump. Not because of anything he has done, not because he is either good or bad, but because of God's purpose of election, so that his hand and his glory will be revealed in it, just as it was in the beginning with the Pharaoh. So shall it be at the end with Donald Trump. Isaiah 9, verses 6 and 7 read, For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. My friends, I don't know that I can say anything else other than the zeal of the Lord of hosts is at work in our nation. So keep your eyes on God, keep your eyes on Israel, and stay in his presence. My friends, I hope this message was an encouragement to you. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and guide you and fill you with his perfect grace overflowing.